Imagine waking up in a world with no clocks, no watches, no phones, and no calendars. There are no alarms to wake you up and no schedules to follow. Yet ancient humans still knew when to wake up, hunt, travel, eat, and sleep. So how did people living thousands of years ago measure something they could not even see? Today, we check the time almost without thinking. We look at our phones, computers, watches, and clocks dozens of times every day. Ancient humans had none of these tools. Instead, they turned to the one thing that never stopped moving and never failed them: nature itself. The first clock in human history was the sun. Every morning, the sun rose from the east and traveled across the sky before disappearing in the west. This predictable movement became humanity's first method of understanding the passing of time. Sunrise meant it was time to wake up and begin work. Midday meant the sun was highest in the sky, while sunset signaled that darkness and danger were approaching. For early humans, the daily journey of the sun became their natural schedule. Ancient people soon noticed something else. Shadows changed throughout the day. During the morning and evening, shadows were long, while around midday they became short. These changing shadows provided important clues about the time of day. By carefully watching shadows, people could estimate whether they had plenty of daylight left or whether they needed to return home before darkness arrived. This simple observation may have saved countless lives throughout human history. Eventually, humans began placing sticks, stones, or wooden poles into the ground to observe shadow movements more accurately. Without realizing it, they were creating the earliest versions of one of history's greatest inventions, the sundial. Sundials became increasingly sophisticated as civilizations grew larger. Ancient Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans all developed different versions that could measure time more precisely than simple observation alone. However, the sun disappeared every night, creating a new challenge. Ancient humans still needed ways to understand time after darkness covered the sky and shadows vanished completely. That is when people turned their attention toward the moon. Unlike the sun, the moon changed shape throughout the month, creating a repeating pattern that humans could observe and remember. The moon quickly became humanity's second great clock. Ancient humans noticed that it changed shape in a predictable cycle every month. The bright full moon slowly became smaller night after night before disappearing completely and then returning again. This repeating pattern became one of the earliest ways humans measured longer periods of time. People began recognizing the different phases of the moon and giving them meaning. A full moon could signal an important gathering, while a new moon might mark the beginning of a new cycle. Long before written calendars existed, the moon was already helping humans organize their lives and plan important activities. Many early societies based their calendars entirely on lunar cycles. In fact, the word month comes from the word moon because one lunar cycle lasts roughly 1 month. This simple observation allowed humans to divide time into smaller and easier sections that could be remembered and shared with others. Farmers depended heavily on these lunar calendars. Planting crops too early or too late could destroy an entire harvest and threaten the survival of an entire community. By tracking the moon and the seasons together, ancient farmers greatly improved their chances of success. The stars became another powerful tool for measuring time. Ancient humans noticed that certain stars appeared only during specific seasons of the year. Some stars were visible during summer nights, while others appeared only during winter months, creating a natural seasonal calendar. By watching the stars carefully over many generations, people learned to predict seasonal changes with surprising accuracy. This knowledge helped communities prepare for winter, rainy seasons, animal migrations, and many other events that affected survival and food supplies. Travelers and hunters also relied heavily on stars during the night. The position of certain stars could reveal direction as well as the approximate time until sunrise. In many ways, the night sky became both a clock and a map for ancient humans. Some civilizations became incredibly skilled astronomers. They carefully recorded the movement of stars, planets, and the moon for hundreds of years. Their observations became some of the earliest scientific records ever created and helped future generations understand the universe better. Ancient Egyptians paid special attention to the bright star Sirius. Every year, its appearance in the morning sky happened shortly before the Nile River flooded its banks. This flooding was one of the most important events in Egyptian life and agriculture. The floodwaters brought fresh soil that made farming possible across much of Egypt. Because of this connection, the appearance of Sirius became one of the most important time markers in Egyptian civilization and influenced their calendars for centuries. As villages grew into towns and cities, people needed more accurate ways to measure shorter periods of time. Watching the sun and stars remained useful, but growing civilizations required greater precision for trade, government, and daily activities. This need eventually led to the invention of the sundial. By placing a stick or pointer in the center of a marked surface, people could use shadows to estimate the time much more accurately than simple observation alone allowed. Sundials became common throughout ancient Egypt, Greece, Rome, and many other civilizations. They represented one of humanity's first true timekeeping devices and remained popular for thousands of years across many different cultures and regions. However, sundials had one major weakness. They depended entirely on sunlight. Clouds, storms, and nighttime made them completely useless. Once again, humans searched for a better solution that could work under all conditions. One of the most important inventions that followed was the water clock. Water flowed from one container to another at a steady speed, allowing people to measure time even during cloudy weather or long after the sun had disappeared. Water clocks became popular in civilizations such as Egypt, Greece, China, and Mesopotamia. Different cultures created different designs, but the main principle remained the same: measuring time using the predictable movement of water. Some societies later invented candle clocks. Since candles burned at a fairly constant rate, markings along the side could indicate how much time had passed. These clocks were especially useful indoors and during nighttime hours. Hourglasses provided another clever solution. Sand flowed through a narrow opening at a consistent speed, making it possible to measure minutes and hours with reasonable accuracy. Sailors later relied heavily on them during long sea journeys. These inventions transformed society. Markets could open and close on schedule. Governments could organize public activities, and religious ceremonies could follow precise timing. Timekeeping was becoming increasingly important to civilization itself. Eventually, mechanical clocks appeared and changed everything. For the first time in history, humans could measure time without depending on the weather, the seasons, or the movement of heavenly bodies in the sky. So how did ancient humans tell time without watches, clocks, or smartphones? They observed the sun, the moon, the stars, shadows, and nature itself. By studying the world around them, they turned the sky into humanity's first clock and created the foundations of modern timekeeping that we still depend on today.